Feel
Hey, hi Yash, how are you? Am I audible? Yes, ma'am. I guess we can see you. We'll just wait for a couple of minutes by the time everyone joins, and then we can start. Am I audible? Hello?
Yeah, you are. You are.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so we'll start with whoever is there, and maybe like by that time you could just post it on your groups and ask your friends to come in, so they could join the session and listen to the rest of the session. So on the slide, you can just see an overview of what ma'am would be talking about. So firstly, she would be addressing what anxiety. I'll just switch on my video. You guys are also free to switch on your video. And so I am also from your institute only. I'm currently in my fifth year. I know that today is your first day at IIT, and maybe this would be quite overwhelming. But yeah, I hope that this would be awesome. So yeah, the first thing that ma'am would be addressing is what is anxiety, followed by what do people experience, why do people experience exam stress. So whenever we are giving an exam, why do we feel stressed or anxious? Then what are the symptoms, how can we cope up with it? And finally she would address what we can do on exam day in order to feel better. So without wasting much time, I would just ask ma'am to start. This session is being recorded. We would post it on the YouTube, so that in case some of your friends miss it up, they can definitely address it. And feel free to like switch on your mic or like put it on the chat box. The questions would be addressed after the session. And maybe, yeah, yes, ma'am, you can go ahead and start. I'll just stop sharing my screen.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Today we are here to talk about exam stress and exam anxiety. Exams are an integral part of everybody's life, and they do bring a tremendous amount of stress and anxiety to most people appearing for them. So let me start by just giving you a small overview of what exactly is anxiety. So to the layperson, anxiety means a kind of ghabrahat. It's a kind of tension, a kind of nervousness, which we feel about the future. So we don't know what it is. It's a khichdi which we are making up in our own head. Ke kal ye hoga, hoga ke nahi hoga. We are not sure about, but it's our manifestation of it. So basically it's a kind of tension, it's kind of an impending and doom and nervousness about the future. So we feel that something bad is going to happen. It may or may not happen. That's not the truth. But in our head, we are building up these images and thoughts that, oh, like the exam paper is going to be difficult. I'm going to forget. I'm not going to be able to write anything. So it's our imagination. Okay, so when we are anxious, what is our behavior in any situation? So first, we may run to the washroom several times. We may sleep too little because of the tension. We may feel nervous. We may feel acidic. We may get headaches. We may get cold sweats. A lot of students suddenly become very, very religious. They go to the temple often, or they try and bribe God that, oh, if I do well in the paper tomorrow, I'll shut off at prasad. Or different religions have different kinds of way in which kids end up bribing God, basically. Then another thing is, we say कि हम प्रसाद चढ़ाएंगे, हम ये नहीं, if we have a particular vice, we promise God that, okay, I will not do this if I pass in this exam. So we tend to become superstitious. We all have lucky pens, we have lucky t-shirts which we wear to exams, and go thinking the anxiety will reduce. So that is a common way how normally youngsters cope with anxiety. Sometimes what happens is we may land up in symptoms which are similar to that of a heart attack. So the doctors would check the kids or adults and tell them, okay, it's nothing, it's not a heart attack, it's something wrong with what is happening in your mind or in your brain. This is what we call as a panic attack. So this is experienced very often by people who are undergoing severe forms of anxiety. And then they need to go and see a psychiatrist or a psychologist to find out what is wrong with them. So basically this is anxiety. So anxiety can happen in any situation. It's not only related to exams. It can happen in any sphere of life, any area of your life. But today, since we are here to discuss only about exam anxiety and anxiety related to the workplace and not getting job placements as and when what you want, let's just keep the focus onto that. Yeah, so this is namely broadly what is anxiety. Any questions on this? Any feedback? Anything?
Yes, ma'am. I'm monitoring the chat. Maybe like we could take up the session questions up once you finish the questions, or if it pops up. Right now, there are no questions on
Okay. Okay. Now let's focus a little bit on what is exam stress. So everybody goes through a little bit of stress and anxiety before exams, which is actually normal because it can, help you focus. It can help you want to study better, to get better grades. So little bit of stress and anxiety before exams is okay. But there are some times where people experience a lot of, they don't know what's happening within themselves. That is a cause of concern. So exam stress basically is a condition in which people experience extreme stress, anxiety, and discomfort during or before taking the exam. So this anxiety creates significant barriers to learning and performance. So your performance definitely gets impaired because of the amount of anxiety you're facing, which can result in emotional or physical distress. Many a times you have difficulty concentrating or focusing. And there are many people who come after the paper and say, oh, I blanked out even though I was fully prepared. Why the blanking out is because of your anxiety and your anxiousness. It has reached such a peak that you are unable to focus on what is currently happening. So that is basically what is exam stress. Okay, now can we move on to the next one? Why do people experience exam stress? So why is exam stress there in a few people, not there in others? What could be the reason? So the first one could be, poor past test performance. So for example, in some cases where you haven't been prepared or you have not done well in an earlier exam, you may try and attribute that to the present exam or the future exam. So you may tend to feel anxious when you're doing this paper because you keep thinking of your past failures. So that is one reason, because you're attributing everything to the past failure. Secondly is that, again, you're worrying that the paper may be tough and you may end up failing. So again, you're worrying about something which is unknown. It may be easy, it may not be easy. Then you don't feel as prepared compared to your peers, or you feel you're under prepared. Another thing is you want to excel. You have very, very high expectations from yourself. So you have to come first. High pressure to perform well leads to a lot of anxiety, and it puts a lot of pressure on yourself to perform. The pressure could be either what you are putting on yourself, or the pressure could be what parents are putting on you, what your peers are putting on you, etc. But as soon as that pressure to perform comes in, you are definitely going to feel massive amount of anxiety. Fear of failure is another thing. Our Indian children don't want to fail, because in India a lot of emphasis is given on coming first in exams, on getting the top scores from parents, your neighbors, to family. Everybody wants the child to come first. But I had a client who went to a very, very big American company for an interview, just like how all of y'all are going for placements and stuff like that. So and he was an average student, not very bright, and he was competing with children who were like absolutely at A scores. So he was a little nervous when he went for the interview. But during the interview, the interviewees asked him, whether he has experienced any failure and stuff like that. And this child had experienced considerable failure in his life. So when they asked him how he coped with the failure, what he did, they were pretty impressed, and he landed the job compared to the other people who aced it with their ace marks and their ace extracurricular performances and all that. So a lot of companies now are hiring people who have undergone failure, so that they know that they are resilient and they know how to face failure, which is very, very important. So that is another reason why you may experience exam stress, because you don't want to experience failure. Then another thing is you are competing with other people, you are competing with your friends, so you feel inadequate somewhere, and that pressure to perform is again there. The pressure also comes from the anxiety. So it is very, very important to know what triggers this anxiety. So when you face these anxious situations before your paper, if you sit and do I have high expectations of myself or my family? Does my family have high expectations from me? Is it a fear of failure? Is it concerning, like, if I don't pass this interview, I don't pass this exam, my life is over, stuff like that. So you have to see from where your anxiety is coming from. So mainly these are the issues which drive people to getting this stress in them.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so now we move on to what are the symptoms of exam stress. How does a student who is undergoing an exam, say tomorrow or in a week, think that, okay, I have exam stress and I need to work on this? So the first most important thing is your sleep pattern. You struggle to sleep, you sleep very, very poorly, or you struggle to get out of bed. Then you are constantly feeling moody, you're feeling low, you're feeling irritable, you're feeling sad, you want to cry for no reason at all. You're not eating at all, or you're eating a lot. Then you have trouble making simple decisions. So, for example, when you all are practicing, when there is a simple thing like a yes or a no or an MCQ, you have trouble even. So you have trouble even having trouble deciding or focusing on which MCQ is right, because your decision making ability has also been affected because of the stress. Then you're not able to enjoy activities or things which you used to previously like doing. Fidgeting, nail biting, teeth grinding. Like, you see people biting their nails before the exams. Again, anxiety, stress, difficulty getting motivated to study or do anything. Procrastinating, अरे छोड़ यार, I'll do it tomorrow. छोड़ना, आज मन नहीं कर रहा है. Then tense muscles, you're getting aches and pains over your body, headaches. You don't know what is the reason, but it's just happening to you. You having an upset stomach, feeling faint, feeling dizzy. Emotional symptoms like feelings of anger, fear, disappointment, low self-esteem, constantly thinking I'm no good, I'm going to fail. What use is this world? Other people are better than me. Forgetfulness. So when you're studying, you even forget simple formula equations. You don't remember. Increasing in substance abuse. So if there are students who are addicted to cigarettes, to drugs, or to drinking alcohol, they might think that okay, they might resort to more substance abuse. So these are the kinds of symptoms which one may undergo if he or she is facing exam stress. And it's not one off. I mean, one day is okay, 2 days is okay, but if it goes on for like a week or 2 weeks, then you definitely need to seek help.
Yes, ma'am, one of the questions that I just received on mail is that how can I maintain my mental health when I'm always surrounded by negative thoughts, such that I am alone or my peers are always performing well as compared to me? So it's
Super question.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So can we, all this is tackled in the webinar, but towards the end, we'll focus on this primarily.
Yes, ma'am.
Because all this, as I'm explaining, it is focused, like different points have been incorporated into the webinar, because this is a very, very, very important question which most students have. So we'll just keep it on hold. Okay. Then the next thing we were doing was what do you do on the exam day? How do you feel good before you go for the exam? So the first thing is you work out what you have to take for the exam for the day, right from the stationery to the hall ticket the night before, so that in the morning you're not panicking and running, I forgot the hall ticket and stuff like that. I know children who've gone half the way and then they've come back, or they've asked somebody to go and get the hall ticket for them. So prepare your bag in the night and keep. Try and get a good night's sleep before the paper. Don't cram till the wee hours of morning and get about an hour of sleep and all. It doesn't help, because you'll end up making mistakes, because if you don't get sleep. So you need good, peaceful, at least 7 to 8 hours of uninterrupted, disturbed sleep. Eat a good, light, healthy breakfast before the exam. Many people go hungry before the paper, thinking, oh, I'll get acidic, I'll get nauseous. No, but you're getting acidic and nauseous because you haven't eaten. So eat a light, healthy breakfast before the paper. Eat dry fruits, eat nuts, so that hydrate, so that gives you energy and concentration. Hydrate yourself well. Drink enough water. Avoid a lot of stimulants from the previous night onwards. A lot of caffeine, alcohol, all this Red Bull and energy drinks which students drink nowadays just to keep awake. Don't, because these impede your energy and concentration in the long run. And it is also very difficult to get good sleep. Go to the loo before the exam starts so you don't get nervous. Relax before and during the paper. If you feel the anxiety is getting to you, do deep breathing exercises. Deep inhaling air and exhaling helps a lot. Read the exam paper thoroughly. Many people don't read the exam paper because they're anxious. So read the exam paper thoroughly. Underline the keywords and instructions. Work out the time you have for each section approximately. So you have 20 minutes to complete this, you have 10 minutes to complete this. Do your time management accurately. Think positively. So when we feel anxious, when we see the paper, we start thinking, oh, I can't do this. Yeah, I'm definitely going to fail, right? Instead, replace this with positive thoughts. Things like, this is just stupid anxiety. It's not going to help me. I'm just feeling anxious for no reason. What the hell? So once you learn to accept that, okay, this is anxiety, you will feel much, much, much better. And then tell yourself, relax, focus. It's not an exam. It's not the end of the world. So a lot of thoughts also come from what we tell ourselves. Because constantly, if we are going to tell ourselves negative things, I can't do it, oh my God, it's so difficult, somewhere you are going to end up believing that it is difficult and you can't do it. So when you change your thoughts, use positive affirmations, you will see that it can definitely work. It definitely works in the long run. So mainly, this is your exam. Then the most important thing is avoid exam postmortem. So basically, when we finish the paper, we all come out and you start discussing the paper. Ask your friends, "Arey, kaisa gaya paper? Isme kya likha? Usme kya likha?" The minute you realize that, oh my God, I have made a mistake. Now I've screwed up. Okay, you're thinking about your mistakes constantly, and now it's too late to undo it. The paper is gone already. You can't change the situation, but that is only gumaving in your head. As a result, the next day's paper is also botched up because you're thinking of this mistake, what you have done today. So instead, I would tell you is forget it. What is done is done. You can't go back and change your answers. Jo ho gaya, ho gaya. Think of your paper next day and work better towards that paper. So there's no point in doing the postmortem of the exams. Okay, once the results come out and you realize, okay, I've gone wrong here, I've gone wrong there, I should have written this, I should have done this. Then you learn to work on your exams, on your mistakes. But अब exam तुम देख के तुम बाहर अरे मैंने ये नहीं लिखा यार, मैं ये भूल गया. You can't do anything about it. So instead, forget about it. The minute you leave your exam hall, raat gayi, baat gayi, and focus on the next paper.
Makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. In fact, I think that all of us over here have experienced this thing. That once we come out of the exam, like any of you would like to share your story. So I see 20 people here, like Shivang, Parth, Palak, Manav, Himani, like any of the experiences, you can share it on chat, whether you have experienced it or not. So
yeah, it'll be nice.
Fifth year में और कुछ ऐसे you don't need to be so formal. आराम से chill रह के you put on your questions कि हाँ भैया ऐसा लगता है.
Can we get everybody's cameras also on? It'll be nice to see everybody and interact. It'll be an interactive session then.
Definitely. Why don't you guys really don't need to be shy. Maybe ma'am, so this is their first day.
And there's nothing right or wrong. Nobody is going to judge you. It's just we are just helping each other. Even I also get to learn from you all. So it will be very nice. It'll be a good kind of an interaction.
Yeah, feel free to switch on your cameras. मतलब IIT BHU lingo we would be like light है. तो कोई tension नहीं है भाई, आराम से जब camera on करो. Like okay, no one is forcing you, but you can switch it on. मतलब it's very
no force, but it'll be nice if you could do it.
एक तो कर लो यार, fifth year वाला बोल रहा है.
See, somebody's written, yes, I screwed up the G mains because of anxiety.
Same.
Makes sense. Yes,
okay, so now can we go with the next?
Definitely, we could go ahead.
How do you
switch on cameras?
Sorry?
Yeah, we'll go ahead. We'll not force them to switch on cameras. If they want, they can do. And you guys can actually switch it on. मतलब कोई ऐसा tension नहीं है.
Okay, so now let's do the coping with exam stress. How do you handle it? Now it's there. Okay, a lot of people face it. How do you cope with it if it's there? So first thing is, don't connect your self-worth to be the test's outcome or the results. So many people, when they don't perform in the exams or they don't do well as per their expectation or the expectations of their parents, label themselves as failures. So don't restrict from doing that, because exam is one part of your life. It doesn't determine whether you're a failure or you're a success. It depends on a lot of things. So please do not label yourself as failures if you all do not succeed in one exam, or you all don't succeed in getting the job which you thought was right for you, which may or may not have been right for you. That's the first important thing. because a person's worthiness as a person is, because your worthiness is not dependent on your grades or the job you get, nothing. Happiness should be a priority for everybody. If you are happy, everything will follow, will fall into place. So the first most important thing is, do not connect your self-worth to the results of your exam. Most important. Secondly is confront your fears. Most fears are imaginary. So F stands for false, E stands for evidence, A is appearing, and R is real. So fear is actually false evidence appearing real, because it appears real, it's not real. So it's like it's just a false thing which is in our head. So the challenge is to confront your fears and overcome it. The 3 P's which are very, very important for success: preparation, practice, and performance. Most important. How do you prepare? You prepare well in advance. Don't leave it for the last minute. It doesn't work. Find a quiet, uncluttered place to study, not hajar books on the table and very messy environment. It hampers efficient learning. So quiet, uncluttered place to study. Stick to a routine by eating, sleeping, studying at the same time. Most important, you need to follow a routine. Think about when you work best. Everybody is not a morning person. Library doesn't work for everybody. Some people study best at night, some people study in the afternoon. You need to find out what suits your body clock the best and work according to that. Only because your friend studies well in the morning or gets up at 4 in the morning and studies, you can't push yourself to do it, because if you're not a morning person, you will not be able to do it. So you need to find out your body clock and your body rhythm and study accordingly. There is no one common rule for all. It's all about what works for you. Secondly, identify the type of learner you are. So normally we have 3 types of learners: visual learners, auditory learners, and kinesthetic learners. So once you identify the kind of learner you are, whether you learn better visually, visual learners need to write when they study. That's the most important thing. It's a myth when people say that, oh, visual learners only need to see and study. No, it's not. That is not the case. Of course it is important, but what happens is when you look and study, you tend to forget the main points. But when you write as well as see the information, it's very important for you to achieve maximum results. For visual learners, auditory learners need to listen, not necessarily write. They need to study aloud. They need to listen, audio tapes, audio cassettes, whatever, and recite aloud. Kinesthetic learners like to do practicals. They like to use all their 5 senses. So once you find out what kind of a learner you are and which learning style is best suited for you, your learning process will become much, much, much easier. Take regular short breaks while studying. Walk around, deep breathe exercise. No electronic gadgets during this break, because your eyes need rest also, your brain needs rest also. So when you are studying from the book, you say, okay, I'll take a 10-minute break. Your next thing is going on to Instagram or Facebook. Okay, what's happening? Let me check. So that's not a break. You need to, either meditate quietly or walk around. That's a break. Stay focused. Unclutter your mind before you start studying. Minimize distractions. Don't get distracted by interfering thoughts. If you are getting a lot of interfering thoughts, set aside, say 10 minutes, okay, and tell yourself, okay, in these 10 minutes, I will think of these thoughts. Slowly, you'll get into a pattern of it. Avoid junk food. Because a lot of your hostelites tend to binge onto junk food. So please avoid that, because these give you a sudden burst of energy and then they leave you feeling worn out and lethargic. Eat a balanced diet: fresh fruits, vegetables, grains, nuts, proteins, which are good for your brain and energy levels. Don't set yourself ridiculous goals. Nobody can study up to 20 topics a day. I have children coming and telling me, oh, we wanted to do so much, but we couldn't do it, so we experienced stress. So, put reasonable goals for yourself. Set study goals and give yourself mini rewards once you achieve these goals. So for example, set yourself, okay, I'll finish 1 chapter in say 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever. Okay. And once you do it, then reward yourself with something, say either a chocolate or something like that, or you can go out for a coffee with your friends or something like that. Don't compare yourself to how much your friends are studying in a day. You do what's best for you. Okay, now you divide all your tasks in manageable pieces and then you accomplish these pieces slowly. What happens is when you start managing these, when you start achieving these manageable pieces, you can more easily meet your goals, and then you feel a sense of accomplishment. Seeing yourself complete the task also builds a lot of confidence in you. So your self-confidence, self-esteem is very, very important for you in all spheres of life. You know, what you think of yourself, that's the most important thing. So it won't matter to you later on what other people think of you. If you think you're the best and you're good, okay, that's the trick. You have to think like that, okay? So then no amount of criticism, no amount of not doing well can impair your development. Most important. Okay. Learn to view criticism objectively. Visualize failure as a part of the learning curve. Not everybody succeeds every time. Today, some may succeed. Tomorrow, these same people may fail. Today, you may fail. Tomorrow, you may succeed. There is nobody in this world who has never experienced failure. Nobody, right from the biggest industrialist to the smallest person. Everybody experiences failure at some point or the other in their lives. So, failure is a part of life. You have to learn how to deal with it. Okay. Rationalize fear objectively. So, for example, if you are not selected for a job interview, don't say they have rejected me. Instead, you can look at it by saying that, oh, they have found somebody more suitable than me who fits their criteria right. So then you start looking for positions which are more suited for your strengths. So, for example, we all have different personalities, right? So there are some people who are very good at delegating. You know, they are very good in leadership roles. So those people will do very well in those roles. But if, for example, a person who's an introvert, okay, goes for a position where he's asked to delegate people, you know, even though he's performed very well in the interview, the management may probably see his personality is not that kind of it. They might not give him the job, you know, because they feel that, oh, he won't be able to lead. So there's nothing wrong with that. You need to view your own, what your own personality is like. Somebody has written that my voice is not coming.
We are able to hear this. So, Aditi, are you also facing the same issue?
No, I can hear.
Yeah, I can also hear. Uh, I think, Harsh, maybe you could try reconnecting. So I think probably everyone else can hear. Yeah, ma'am, I think you can continue. Okay, it's
Okay,
fine.
everything is fine. Everything is fine. Okay. So once you understand your personality, okay, that helps you also in selecting the right job. It's not like a herd mentality. Okay, oh, everybody is applying for this position, even I'm applying. Okay, then I don't get it, I feel that. No, you select your own personality. So for example, I'll give you an example. There are investment bankers, right? So investment bankers have to deal with targets, they have to deal with goals, they have to deal with achieving all this, right? So they have to have high stress levels. Now a person who is not a target oriented person or a goal oriented person, even if he gets this job, he will not be happy because he can't do it. It's not in his personality, right? So you need to find something which suits your personality, your interest, your aptitude. Most important. So when you don't get selected for something, view it positively. Think, what happened? I mean, you know, was I lacking somewhere? Was the position not suitable for me, which is why they didn't select me? So ask yourself these questions and work on this for your next interview. Okay. Then if you're supposing you're giving a presentation, your presentation is criticized, or you know, so again, objectively look at each criticism, rationalize it, and you know, and in your head, okay, and then view it like, oh, I got the criticism from an expert. So it will help me plan better, it will help me prepare better for the future. Another very important thing is resolve to persist. Don't give up. Success comes with persisting with your beliefs and trying again and again after making the necessary changes, corrections, and adjustments. Don't take it on your ego that, oh, you know, they don't know anything. I did this well. I'm the best. No, try and learn. You all are young. You all can learn from your mistakes. Learn from your mistakes. Secondly, don't believe everything you see on social media. Half of it is crap, half of it is rubbish, half of it is lies. People tend to over exaggerate. People tend to show other people what is not the truth. But I have a lot of clients of mine who come believing what is true on social media. 99% of it is fake on social media. So please don't believe what is shown on social media, because that anxiety will get to you when you see other people. Oh my God, they are having such a good time. They're having a blast. Rubbish. You know, you need to take it with a pinch of salt. Yeah. Secondly, spend less time on social media. Surround yourself with positive people. Very, very important. Negative people attract criticism, negativity in your life. Okay. When you surround yourself with happy people, content people, you yourself are happy. So surround yourself with positive people. Don't surround yourself with people constantly whining, finding mistakes in others, finding faults in others. No, you shouldn't. You know, happy people who are happy, who are smiling, who are laughing, things like that. So surround yourself with positive people. And lastly, practice gratitude. It's the most important tool. Be grateful for what you have. Most important tool. So whenever you are down in the dumps, you feel unhappy, you feel you've got a raw deal in life, you feel, oh, I didn't get this job what I was, what I wanted. Think that there are thousands and lakhs and crores of other people who don't even have what you have, and immediately you will feel better. So for example, in the lockdown, a lot of people were saying, oh, we are stuck at home, we don't have anything to do, oh my God, I'm getting so bored at home and things like that. But always be thankful that we have a house to live in. There are so many people who didn't have houses. These migrant workers have walked for miles and miles in the hot sun without water, without food, and and so many have died on the way. So whenever any negative thought comes in your mind, please practice gratitude. Be grateful for what you have. Okay. Now, before we switch the forum to exercise, to asking questions, there were two questions, so I'll answer those first. Does fearing ill health before exams actually make you sick? Okay. So, as we discussed, anxiety is a response to stress. It can cause a variety of symptoms which are psychological, physical. When you feel severely anxious, you might notice that your heart rate speeds up and your breathing increases, and you may experience nausea, vomiting, headaches, all that. So the stress about getting sick can actually make you sick because extensive exposures to chronic stressors exhaust the body, which can cause physical ill health. So you can experience a variety of physical symptoms such as muscle pain, tensions, etc. I'll give you an example. I had a client of mine who was admitted to the hospital for 6 months. Okay, and he was very, very sick. He had ulcers in his mouth, and he had a lot of acidity and stuff like that. And 6 months, the doctors did a lot of testing on him. They couldn't find out what was wrong with him. And at one point, they even thought it was cancer. And then they said, "Nahi, sab kuch normal hai. All your tests are normal. Everything may be something to do with the brain." And he was referred for counseling. During the course of therapy, it came out that he had so much of mental stress and mental trauma, and he hadn't spoken to anybody about it all his life. So this was, this got collected in the body. How much? So much it was collected that it came out in this physical way. So yes, definitely fearing ill health before exams can actually make you sick. So now that we know what anxiety is and how it is all in our mind, okay, we need to control our mind. And once you do that, you will feel much better. You will not experience anything called anxiety ever. Second, lastly, I want to stress about the importance of exercise, which is very, very important. So when we exercise, the body releases chemicals called endorphins, which trigger a positive feeling in the body. And so exercise helps in reducing stress. It's a natural mood lifter. So for example, when you run or you exercise, you automatically start feeling good and very, very energetic, and you feel like doing things and stuff like that. So it helps you improve sleep. It boosts your self-esteem. You start looking good, you start feeling good, you start being healthy. So it prevents respiratory and cardiovascular diseases. So that exercise is very, very important. Please incorporate at least half an hour every day, exams, no exams, to get some kind of physical exercise. One common misconception when we talk of exercise or staying fit is we only concentrate on the body. Staying fit, we say, oh, look at her, yeah, she has a fat body, or look at him, look at his body, look at his muscles, But optimum fitness or the peak of fitness is only achieved when the mind and the body are performing together. So people who are very, very fit physically sometimes collapse with a sudden heart attack. We all might have seen people, heard of people, you know, कह रहे यार ये बंदा तो इतना फिट था, ये रोज भागता था, पतला था, हेल्दी खाना खाता था, तो भी ये मर गया, क्या हो गया? You know, I mean, what was wrong? Body is fit, but mind is not fit. So generally, the cause of death in such cases is high stress, or the high levels of stress which the person is suffering from. So in spite of him being physically fit, mentally he wasn't. Hence the heart attack. So it's very, very, very important to be physically fit and mentally fit together.
Yes, ma'am. That makes sense. So yeah, yes, ma'am. So I think few of the participants just now asked questions. So two of them were asking. Are you able to see the question by Aditi and Galaxy M30? How can I stay positive?
No, I can't see. How do I
So
see?
what these guys are asking is that how can I stay positive with narcissistic family members who keep fighting all the time?
Okay, 1 second.
Mhm.
How do I? 1 second. Yeah, 1 minute. I'll just see the question.
Yeah. You can open the chat window. So they have just written.
Yeah, I saw it.
Mhm. I think Aditi and Galaxy M30, they both have the same question. Like.
Okay. Okay. 1 second. How can I stay positive with narcissist family
Members who keep.
members,
Mhm.
parents? Same question about narcissist parents.
Mhm.
Can you just ask the question in a little bit more detail, because I don't know what you all mean by narcissist parents.
So one has mentioned that when there is.
I can't hear you, Aditi.
Now can you hear me?
Yeah, a little better.
Okay, I'm saying that one of them has asked that, you know, if there's continuous fighting all the time, how do you deal with that when you have nothing?
Okay. So see, is like maybe your voice is lagging in between. So if it works out, maybe.
There is a disturbance.
Yeah. So Galaxy M30. Yeah, Galaxy M30, like, could you just type in your question because your voice is breaking off in between? So we are actually trying to understand you, but we are unable to. So maybe you could just type in. Okay, I think he or she has muted himself or herself. So maybe, like, Aditi, what you were saying, you could go ahead.
Yeah, I think what they meant is when there is constant fighting at home, especially when there are like narcissistic parents or family members, so there may be a lot of pressure in terms of, you know, performing well in exams. I think that is what they meant, saying how can one stay positive at such times.
Yeah, so basically I think we have discussed this is because of the a lot of expectations from your parents and family members, right? So this is what this was one point what we discussed. Now this is very, very common in an Indian scenario. It always happens. They always want the child to, right from the time the child enters first grade, the child is expected to come first and nothing below that. That is a regular occurrence in most Indian families. So I think when you realize your potential, and when you just distract yourself and tell yourself constantly that I am not going to get pressurized by what they feel or what they think, I will do my best. Cut them off, cut those thoughts off, or cut them off. That's the only way. You have to learn to ignore those thoughts, because once you internalize that, you also start believing in this. You know, so when you talk to yourself, or when you do self talk, it's very important to tell yourself that these are their expectations from you. You need not fulfill their expectations. That's a demand they are putting on you. You don't need to fulfill their demand. You owe this to yourself, and you need to be good for yourself, and you need to do the best for yourself.
Makes sense. And one of the questions was that jobs are related to money directly. So how it feels bad when you see your best friend getting a job of 30 lakhs and you end up getting 8 lakhs per annum. So it's like a Three Idiots feeling where दोस्त का job ज्यादा अच्छा लगा तो और बुरा लगता है. So how can we
It's
cope?
definitely, I agree. It can feel like crap. You will feel very, very bad if your friend gets a job of 30 lakhs and you get a job of 8 lakhs. I mean, I can absolutely relate. But then again, 30 lakh wala jo job hai, the company will expect that kid to do much more than what they are paying you for 8 lakhs. Okay. So when you view it in a way, 8 lakhs, you at least have your freedom, you have your independence, and you all are what, 21, 22-year-old kids, right? So if 30 lakhs ke job pe liye, you're going to slog like 18 hours a day. What will you do when you're 40? So because companies who pay you so much will not take crap from you, will make you work like dogs, right? Whereas this is the time when you have to explore other interests. You have to do other things. You have to, if you have a hobby, if you have a passion for something, learn that, and work in tandem, and money and thing follows. Yeah, it's not like aaj tum 8 lakh kamate ho, life bhar you're going to be stuck on 8 lakhs. No, you are going to progress. You are not going to be stuck at that 8 lakh job. For example, I'll tell you, we are from a lawyer family. My husband's a lawyer. So when you start working as an intern, like when you all are like 21, 22, you get how much stipend? You get 10,000, 20,000, even now, right? And by the time you're 50, you're earning in crores. So that's the difference. You start low always. You cannot start higher in professional jobs. Right now, all these MNCs and these banks and all are taking people, but then they are so quick to hire and fire also. If you don't meet the targets, if you can't cope with the stressors, they're quick to hire and fire, right? So I agree, you do feel bad about it, but it's okay. It's a part of life. You're not going to be stuck earning 8 lakhs lifelong, right?
Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense.
And that's what I said in the beginning, that don't compare. The problem comes is when we compare ourselves to other people. See, today you may have a job of 8 lakh, your friend may have a job of 30 lakhs, but you may have other things which your friend envies you for. Everybody has something good or bad about them, not necessarily that your friend who's earning 30 lakhs has a perfect life. No.
Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. So I think, yes, ma'am, I think that made a lot of sense. And moving on to that, Galaxy M30 also asked that by narcissistic parents, he meant self-entitled parents who just want to control our lives. It's all about themselves and not about us.
I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
1 minute. Where is this question? Let me also read it.
Yeah, in the chat window.
I got it. 1 minute. Self-entitled parents who just want to control our lives. It's all about themselves. Absolutely, Galaxy M30. Absolutely right. Most Indian parents are like that. Absolutely. Okay. But it's all about themselves. I agree. It's all about their social prestige. That mera beta itna kamata hai, ya meri beti itni kamati hai, ya meri beti ne, different things. They all want trophy children. But then you are an individual. You are an adult now. You know that when people want to control you, you cannot get doing to what they want you to do always, right? So you have to set those boundaries in your head very clearly. You cannot let them control your lives. You need to move independently. You need to do what makes you happy. I'll give you an example absolutely about the same case. Okay, this is a very, very good question. So I'm working currently with a 50-year-old man who's come to me for therapy. So this person, right from the past 15 years, okay, he was on antidepressants because he went to 2 psychiatrists and they gave him antidepressants because they diagnosed his illness as depression. So antidepressants, yeah, he was not happy. And, like for 12 years of his life, he lived like a zombie. He was only sleeping. And even when he was getting up, he wasn't fresh, nothing. But as a result, he put on a lot of weight. Then now he's gone and he's lost that weight. And he started getting a lot of aches and pains all over his body. So much so that he couldn't even get up and move. Itna usko aches and pains ho raha tha. All through the lockdown, he experienced this. Finally, they did a lot of tests on him and all. Kuch nahi nikla. Absolutely nothing. His family doctor referred him to me for therapy. And he's a 50-year-old man. He's living with an 80-year-old mother now. Okay. He's a father. He's got 2 girls himself and his wife. The mother still controls his life completely. Okay. And he has taken it in his head that, oh, I have to give in to all the demands of my mother. Now, he doesn't agree to it. But he's forcing himself to do it. As a result, he has got all these physical ailments. So when you talk of parents want to control your life, this is absolutely one thing. But when you let them control your lives and you don't say anything or don't, I'm not saying fight. I'm not saying fight, but I'm just saying in your head, you have clarity that you shouldn't let them control your mind. Don't, because Indian parents also hate their children answering back to them and stuff like that. So avoid fights, avoid confrontations, but in your head, because you want that mental peace, tell yourself that I cannot let them control my life, and do what you want. Listen to them also reasonably. But when you realize that the demands are not, you cannot give in to them, then take a back seat, is what I would say. I hope I've answered your question, Galaxy.
Yeah, I think that was good. So in between, he had written that thanks for such a wise advice, ma'am. I think that made sense to him. Yeah, I think, ma'am, we have covered like the questions. I think just one question that I got in between is how would you recommend us to practice gratitude? So while you were talking about gratitude, that how can they actually implement it?
Yeah. So for gratitude, you know what you can do is, for the best thing is get up every morning, okay, and write 5 things. Actually, it's 10, but you can start with 5. Write 5 things what you are most grateful about in your life. It could be anything. It could be having electricity. You know, because so many people in villages don't have electricity. It could be such a little thing like having water, having food to eat, anything small. So every day, write down 5 things what you are grateful for in the morning, and thank the universe for giving that to you. And you'll be surprised that you'll come out with so many things.
Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. So yeah, I think
There are 2 new messages again.
Yeah.
There's one question about serious panic attacks when a lot of things pile up. How do I cope with that?
1 minute, Galaxy is saying something else. Yes, ma'am, it feels like really leaving them. I pulled myself out of depression, but I'm getting too anxious. I understand what you're saying. I've decided that I'll first leave them. At the end, I'm a rebel with a cause. See, I'm not saying, see, leaving them and you know, getting too anxious and all is not the solution. Once you have it in your head that you're not going to give in to their demands, and what they are doing is, what they're asking of you is unrealistic, okay, you yourself will be calmer and you yourself will be happier. So you don't need to rebel, and because even when you rebel, it gives you anxiety. At the end of the day, you're not happy doing it, but it gives you anxiety. So I'm trying to tell you is, be at peace with yourself, be calm, tell yourself it's okay if they expect this, I'm not going to give it, and stay happily.
Yes, that makes sense. And one of the questions which Aditi was saying, I guess it was, I get serious panic attacks when a lot of things pile up. How do I cope up with it? I think this is related to another question where the student had asked that how do I maintain a routine when everything is going in an online environment?
So online ka bhi karo na. Of course, online you can have a routine. Why not? You get up at a specific time. A time in the morning. Okay, now that I've told you the importance of exercise, I hope you all understand the importance. And early morning, since everything has opened up now, go for a jog in your area wherever you are living in, or go for a walk or something like that, or exercise, meditate, do yoga, some form of exercise. Keep that 1 hour, half an hour for that. Then come back, have breakfast. You know, keep a routine, keep a timetable, and it'll be difficult the first few days, but eventually, once you stick to it, you will be happier and healthier. It's all in the mind. You yourself have to make a conscious effort to stick to it. Start your day with an exercise. You'll feel fresh throughout the day. Get adequate 8 hours of sleep. Most important.
Yes, makes sense. I think yes, ma'am. I also don't have any questions as of now. I think we have covered all the questions till now. So if you guys have any other questions, like instead of mailing me, you could just put it on the chat window, or you could just maybe switch on your mic and ask your questions. So do you want us to address anything else? We'll just wait for a couple of minutes if anyone has any other question. Otherwise, we'll end the session there.
Yeah. Another thing I want to say is, see, all parents love their children. Okay, that's a universal fact. All parents love their children, but the way they handle children is different, because maybe from their own experiences, their parents have been like this with them. So that's the only thing they know, and because of that, they kind of use the same rules for y'all. So the fact is that they all love y'all, but the way they deal with y'all, the way they address y'all, the way they expect from y'all is not real, but that can't discount the fact that they love you. So you have to try and work in harmony with them.
Makes sense. And yeah, maybe like you guys could turn on your video and we could just take a screenshot with all of us. So I'm also anxious while asking this question right now, because I don't know how many of you guys would actually turn on your video. But yeah, I think ma'am's tips would actually help me get over it. So yeah, why don't you guys go ahead and turn on your videos? Maybe we could just click a screenshot and you just post it on social media. I don't think if if people would turn it on, but okay, if they don't turn
It's
on,
okay. It's okay. As long as it has helped people, the message has come across, they have asked questions, I'm happy.
Makes sense. Yeah, so I think so you guys could pop in your questions in between. Yeah, and by the time you guys are writing in questions or you're thinking if any question is to ask, maybe like Aditi, you could also speak about your organization, about Speaking Great, and yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you. So, firstly, thank you so much, Husna. It was so like nice, listening to everything. I can relate to all of this, though I graduated like 2 years back. So, all these questions kind of bring back my own memories of feeling extremely anxious. And I think this is again like a universal thing. You just have to keep reminding yourself about all these things and all these questions which people asked. I think again so relatable, that what if my friend is earning more than me. The only thing I'll say is that we all have such different paths. You yourself may not know what you will be doing 5 years down the line. I have done engineering as well, and today I run my own non-profit organization. It gives me a lot of happiness, and I have worked previously in a corporate firm. So like there are so many opportunities which you can play around with, and where you will actually find your purpose, that there is no point in actually comparing like your path to another person's path, because they may not have the same dream as yours. So if the dream is not the same, then why we are comparing the journey? Like the journey will also be different. So that is one thing, like I would like to tell everyone whosoever is listening, like just a little bit about what I do. So we organized this session because Speaking Grey is a non-profit organization, just like like the focus which Happy Minds has. We work for mental health awareness and emotional well-being, and two of our focus areas is student mental health and alternate therapy. So yeah, we focus a lot on organizing such sessions for the student community, or just being in touch with the student community to understand how we can help them out and how we can cater to their needs. That's literally just about what I do. And even after the session, if anyone would like to get in touch with either me and Shashwat, please drop in. We will be more than happy to assist in whatever way we can. Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. Thanks a lot, Aditi. And I guess there were Abhishek and Yash who had switched on their mic in between. So do you guys have any question, or was it a mistake? Like if you have any questions, you could just do it right now. Like now is the right time to ask. Abhishek, Yash, you don't need to be shy. Like seriously, you don't need to be shy. मतलब कोई यहाँ पे जज नहीं कर रहा है, कोई नहीं कर रहा है भाई. Okay, I think they don't have any questions. But yeah, I think that was a very like wonderful session, ma'am. Like you
Thank
spent
you so much.
also to speak to us and clear all the doubts. That really means a lot to us, and we all really appreciate it. So I think many of the people weren't asking questions directly, but they were emailing me. I think that's because of the fact that their friends are also on the same call, and maybe they didn't want to know that okay, he or she is the person who's asking. But yeah, I think it was a wonderful session all in all. You would
Thank
like,
you so much.
yes, ma'am. You would like to say any final words?
No, thank you so much. I hope everybody has learned something. If you all have any new questions, please ask us. You can follow me on Instagram, husna.vanjara. You can DM me and I will be most happy to help you with your questions.
Definitely, definitely.
One new message, one new message. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. So what we will do is that we would also send a compilation of what ma'am talked about, and the newsletter would be circulated to all the attendees, to those who attended as well as who didn't attend but had registered. And tomorrow on our Instagram pages, there would be a trivia where the questions would be related to what ma'am has spoken about. So you guys could just check कि अच्छा यार मैं ध्यान से सुना कि नहीं, मतलब भैया ऐसी बोल रहे थे कि या मैम ऐसी बोल रही थी कि मैं सुना कि नहीं सुना, तो अपन को भी पता चलेगा कि अच्छा how were you guys there. ठीक है. I think it's great, ma'am. I think we could end the meeting right now.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thanks a lot for sparing your time. Thanks a lot. Thank you, ma'am. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.